Good afternoon. My name is Yusuf Isa, and this is my submission for the Power Up Challenge, creating a solution for the Paw and Heart charity. Let's take a look at our Dataverse tables and columns and how they are set up for our model-driven and Canvas apps. I've set up the different tables in preparation for our data load from Excel to Dataverse using data flow following star schema, where our animal table as the fact table that houses the key identifiers for the different records of the different dimensions tables. In our animals tables, we have a couple of columns that are set up as a lookup column that will look back into the different related tables, the dimensions tables. Our current location, that's a calculated field where it will set its value depending on the status of the animal. If they are fostered, adopted, or in shelter, it will set its value accordingly. Now for each of the different tables, I've set up an alternative key to facilitate the integration between the Excel file and the load to Dataverse. Forms and views, we'll be reviewing those in depth once we launch our model-driven app. I've also set up a business rule for a medical status check where it will lock or unlock the shelter status for the pet depending on if they pass the medical exam or not. Now let's take a look at our model-driven app and see how all of those artifacts work together. In the design view of our model-driven app, we'll see the different views and forms that are tied to each of the tables that we have discussed earlier. Let's go ahead and play the app and make some changes. In the animals view, we'll see the date of arrival, pet name, type, status, and shelter name. And we can search by any of these. So if we search by name, type, status, or shelter name, and we can access the pet name straight from here. Once we click on the pet name, that should open the form tied to the animal table that presents the pet information and the medical card for the pet. The current location, that is a locked field. That's the calculated field that will be set depending on the status of the animal. If it's in shelter or foster or have an adopter, that will show the current location accordingly. Also for the status, that field is locked because the medical status exam is pending. Once we move that to pass and refresh, that status field should open up based on our business rule that we have set up. Also inside of the form, you can view the medical history for the pet. You can add a new vet history if needed. You can view the location where the pet is in. Now let's save and close. Back to the animal view, you can access the shelter name, and that will show you all the animals that are in that specific shelter. Let's review our Canvas app that will be used by a foster to claim a pet and see the email confirmation they will receive once they finish the checkout process. Our Canvas app has 3 screens: the home screen, animal list, and foster checkout. In the home screen, we have a gallery of available pets filtered by the status in shelter or ready for foster. And if an animal is selected, that will navigate us to the animal list and declare a variable to pass that information over. Alternatively, they can select a shelter, and that will pass us over to the animal list and pass a variable of that selection. In the animal list, we have different filters that we can utilize as well to filter based on the different shelters and type and sex of the pet. We have a dashboard showing the count of the available pets, ready for foster, and pending medical exam. We have a gallery that shows the available animals that is filtered by the status in shelter ready for foster, and if any of the combo boxes, the filters that were mentioned before, were selected. The claim button, that will be visible only if the pet is ready for foster and in a pass for their medical exam. So for example, Bailey in shelter and pass, that is invisible. So if we make changes to that and make Bailey as ready for foster and refresh our database here, that should make Bailey available to be fostered. Now, once that is claimed, once we click on claim, that will move us to the checkout screen where we can finish our checkout. On our checkout screen, we see that we have the selected pet profile that passed over from the previous page. Also, we have a foster form that is tied to our foster table, where on success, it will add the information that were provided by the foster to the foster table, and it will patch some of the information to the animals table, such as the selected status to be set as claimed for foster, the foster name, and date of foster. And at the end, it will give us the congratulation it was successful and navigate us back to our home screen. Once that is completed, once the claim button is clicked, that will submit the form and will trigger a Power Automate Cloud Flow to send an email confirmation to the foster with the pet information and next steps. Now let's take a look at that Power Automate Cloud Flow once the form is submitted. The trigger for the flow would be an update or modification to the animals table, specifically to the shelter status column. If that change meets that condition as claimed for foster, then an email will be sent out to the foster as a confirmation of their claim with the pet information and next steps. So let's test it out by launching the app and filling out the form. We'll add the foster information. The email address, I'm using my personal email, and I'll hit claim. Once that's submitted, that will take us back to the home page, and the flow should trigger at this point. So let's take a look at the email. It should come in anytime now. Here's the email that the foster will receive, indicating that information when we will be reaching out to them, and the pet information along with their medical history. Now let's review our Power BI report and go over how it was set up. Let's look at our table view. I've created a date table and also created a few measures that we will be using in our visuals in the report. In our model view, I've connected each of the dimensions table to our fact table, animal table with a one-to-many relationship, and our date table connected to the animal table with one active and two inactive relationships with the foster and adoption date. Now let's go back to our report view. We have a slicer for each of the shelters, a scorecard for the total number of pets per status, a bar chart that shows the total number of pets per status over time, and a matrix for the percentage change month over month and the average days between the different statuses. At the top, we have the top 3 pet types that were rescued overall, depending on the filtering, and we have the most rescued pet type for the past 3 months. In the latest news, that will show the latest news for the past 30 days, and along with the bucket for each of the statuses, that would act as a activity log. Notice that Bailey is in shelter status right now. We just fostered Bailey. So once we refresh our data set, that should move Bailey into the fostered bucket. And now we have Bailey in our fostered bucket. This concludes my submission. Thank you for the opportunity and thank you for watching.